Okay, freshen up your drink and find a seat. We're just about to begin. There's delicious bites. Freshen up your drink. We're going to start in just about a minute. We do have some visuals on this side, so if you want to be close to the screen at the movie theater, this is your side. Exciting to hear the pop celebration for the Parti. Music? Yeah. Okay. Perfect fade out of the music. That's great. Welcome. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited that everyone's social awkwardness has just fallen away. So good to see your faces, and when I see faces, I mean actually see some of your faces. Thank you all for just taking the community care and wearing your masks when you're not actively eating and drinking. Welcome back. It's so exciting to be here tonight. Our 2,400 member organization in 10 counties of AIA Seattle. Tonight we're celebrating the people who really make our member-driven organization happen to bring forward equitable, resilient, and thriving communities. Those are just words on our website without the people who are here tonight and without all of the excitement and enthusiasm that you bring to our space. We have so much to celebrate from 2022. We've been preparing our profession to lead for decades, and this year was no exception. There were hundreds of hours of continuing education that were brought forward by committees and by our staff. Some of the highlights that over 200 folks participated in: breaking down bias, a case study in delivering universal toileting. It's always fun to have a toilet program. Social housing in Seattle, a look into initiative I-135, and that's a measure that the AIA Board of Directors did in fact endorse. So social housing, bringing a new form of housing to the table, and the Design Impact Series. Our staff, our mighty staff, so energetic and engaged, worked with task force volunteers and members to produce 7 major education programs. And it's fun to see some of you tonight that were part of that planning, including Code Series. We never knew how much people wanted to be on Zoom while they were at work until we had hundreds of people participating in Code. That was great. We did the post-disaster SAP training program, Climate Leadership Summit, just so impactful this year with a national keynote speaker. And culture change and culture change practice cohort. That's the NOMA Northwest inspired call to action that so many of our firms have stepped up to lead on to bring justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion to the profession and to our communities. And Housing Forum, the Small Firm Series, not to forget the return of in-person programming with Architecture for Health committees to conferences. So thank you for that awesome year. We've not only been engaging in programming, but moving on to amplify the impact of the profession with our honor awards held upstairs. We also had a rowdy bar down here that night as well, so that was fun. 15 projects were recognized this year from all typologies. And of course, Seattle Design Festival, when we invite the public in to engage in design thinking. We unleash the design thinker in everyone through that program and really look to an equitable future through Seattle Design Festival. We're continuing through the members here and through those across our 10 counties to champion the design of thriving, livable communities through advocacy and public policy efforts, housing, design review, Seattle Comp Plan. These are the phrases that sometimes wake me up in the middle of the night that I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what is going to be next? What is the next shoe to drop? And we have so many expert members who give their time and patience and expertise to drive forward a better community for all of us. So with all of that, it's been quite a year. Excited to look at 2023 and have more engagements like this when we're in person together. Giving support to our members is our wonderful staff. And I'm just excited to share with you tonight that we're welcoming a new policy and advocacy staff member in 2023 in January. So we'll be announcing them in e-news on Thursday. And very exciting, the promotion of our own Anthony Collins, who has been working, yes, yes. So Anthony's moving to Senior Coordinator of Member Engagement from his development and membership role, and we're so excited to see Anthony progressing and just giving the amazing kind of personal service and the collaboration with our team and with all of our members, so that's exciting for the year ahead. Okay, I don't know what is happening with our post-COVID health situation, but most of the people I know who have children in childcare seem to be sick right now. So I'm bringing this up because our awesome board, I got a few emails today from folks that were really disappointed they couldn't join, but I was super excited to see if you're currently on the board of directors and you did not get sick from a child in daycare this week, please raise your hand so that we can acknowledge you. That's great. And there are a lot of familiar faces here of past board members and past presidents. If you can just give a hi too, we wouldn't be here today without you. All right, thank you. Great. And all of our volunteers who have led committees and developed programs, just give a little wave. All right, yes. And some of you have raised your hand 3 times, so I saw you do that, and we're going to have a conversation later because I think you're doing too much. So sustainable is a good goal to have, right? So with that, it is absolutely my pleasure to welcome our 2 members who have really guided forward. And when we talk about elevating the profession, it's recognizing the work that's happening right now to move forward for the future. And it's my pleasure to welcome the stage Brody Bain and Ruth Baleko. So Brody and Ruth, come on up.
Thank you, Melissa. And Melissa touched on this, but I just have to say this again. Last year was really exciting with just meeting in person again. This year, there are so many more people. It's just super exciting, so let's just give ourselves an applause for that. So welcome everybody tonight. We celebrate the leadership and achievement in design and the built environment through the Honors Program for local, regional, and national contributions. Honors acknowledge excellence and strengthen ties between architects and the many professions that partner with them to make a difference through design.
And we'd also like to thank the colleagues on our Fellows and Honors Committee who worked tirelessly, throughout the year to elevate tonight's local, regional, and national award winners. So with that, let's enjoy the recognition and celebration tonight.
All right. So we're going to move first into the Fellows. The AIA Fellows are recognized with the AIA's highest membership honor for their exceptional work and contributions to architecture and society. The prestige of FAIA after your name is unparalleled, and the judging is rigorous, and it's on a national level. Architects who have made significant contributions to the profession and society and who exemplify architectural excellence can become a member of the AIA College of Fellows. Only 3% of AIA members have this distinction. The 2022 Jury of Fellows on the national level from the AIA elevated another AIA Seattle member to its prestigious College of Fellows, an honor awarded to members who have made significant national contributions to the profession. This person is Chell Anderson. So, and as they do in the fellow ceremony, I have to say Chell Anderson, FAIA, lead fellow. Practices architecture and serves as a principal and the director of sustainable design at Element Architects, working with all of Element's clients to set and exceed sustainable design goals. He wrote the first architect-centered book on energy modeling, co-authored AIA's first policy statement on climate change, and has spoken extensively on energy, water, materials, and embodied carbon. He founded the Seattle hub of the Carbon Leadership Forum and serves on the AIA National Committee on the Environment and the Washington State Building Code Council, where he chairs the Energy Code Technical Advisory Group. A lifelong Washingtonian, he lives in Seattle with his wife and 2 daughters and enjoys playing music and soccer. Congratulations, Chell.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. I will put this down for a second while I go through my notes and figure out what I'm going to say. So fellowship is interesting because you go back through your entire career and you look through emails from 20-some years ago. You're supposed to do this for 10 years of stuff. So it was really fascinating to go through 10 years, or 20-some years of emails and find out what I had done 15 years ago, like the language that I used, what I was talking about, what I was thinking. It was really mind-blowing. And I wouldn't be standing here if it weren't for hundreds of people who have helped me in my career. So I'm going to thank a few of them. When I was in 8th grade, I wanted to be an architect. And an architect in Spokane, Don Henricks, took me into his office and showed me how to draw squiggly lines and highlight things so that it looked really cool and architect-y. My violin teacher, Sister Mary Xavier Courvoisier of Gonzaga, from middle school through college, actually provided a really interesting counterpoint to what a high school kid goes through in terms of her like snarky attitude about education and all sorts of things. Steve Arai, who I got to work with, was both powerful and very humble, and an amazing person. I worked with Cindy Davis at Callison, and she showed me that you can swim upstream sometimes, even in the face of a lot of momentum. 20-some years ago when I started my career, there was very few people who were working in sustainability and architecture. And it was not probably a good idea to go into it as if you want to make money and fame and all that, but it seems to have worked out for me. I want to thank LMN, Sam Miller, and others who hired me and entrusted me to run the sustainability program there, and my wife Jamie, who keeps me appearing at least level-headed sometimes. And then many of you who I've had conversations with over the years. And when I think on my career, it's basically a struggle against apathy. It's really easy to think, what are you doing with sustainability? What you do is you just don't give up, because a lot of times it's just like, well, they don't want it. I'm not going to do sustainability. They don't want climate change action. I'm not going to do it. But fighting against apathy is what I do over and over, and I famously think that I fail at 90% of the stuff that I do. But when you succeed, it's pretty amazing. I follow the other kind of football, but Geno Smith of the Seahawks recently said, my tough times would be a dream to someone else. And it's true. We work in a dream profession. We have lots of power. We have lots of prestige. And we also don't feel the direct consequences of apathy on climate action. We don't get a bill. We don't feel any pain if we don't do climate action. So that's the reason why a lot of us are not doing all that we can on that. But many of us committed to the 2030 challenge and to design fossil fuel-free buildings within just a few years of now, and also 80% energy use reduction, which a lot of us are not achieving, including myself. There's a lot of other stuff that's going on in the profession, and it's great to see sustainability elevated and the action on sustainability elevated. So I'm excited to accept the honor and work with all of you over the next decade to meet our 2030 goals. So thank you.
Okay, for the next award, we would like to talk about the Allied Organization Award, which is something we also give out each year under really tough competition. Typically, it's an organization that has notably contributed to AIA Seattle's mission and goals. This year, AIA Seattle is proud to present this award to Africatown Community Land Trust. Africatown Community Land Trust was formed to acquire, steward, and develop land assets that are necessary for the Black African diaspora community to grow and thrive in place in the Central District, as well as support other individuals and organizations in the retention and development of land. Following the historic inclusive development agreement reached on the Liberty Bank building, the Africatown Community Land Trust was formed in June 2016, culminating from the work of the Union Street Business Association and Africatown stakeholders to acquire and facilitate inclusive, heritage-rich development at the Midtown Center. The Land Trust was also identified as the proper vehicle to hold the Africatown ownership interests in the Liberty Bank building and the Fire Station 6 and other properties. Congratulations. We are so thrilled to be able to give this to you.
Good evening, everyone. Hi. My name is Margot Jones, and I'm the board chair of Africatown Community Land Trust. First of all, I just want to start off by giving thanks to the Lord above for the opportunity for us to be here in our community and to be able to, work hard to make sure that we are making a difference. When we started our organization 6 years ago, our mission was, I went to our CEO and I told him that our mission needs to be to buy the CD Black. Central area Seattle, as we once knew it, is not what it used to be, and it was important to us to make sure that we are providing land ownership for our children's children and all the generations to come. So that is what got me involved as the board chair, is to make sure that that being a homeowner in Central Seattle for 27 years, that I'm able to keep a legacy for my children and my children's children. Talking a little bit more about the work. For far too long, we have been consumers of affordable housing and other poverty benefits produced by poverty and industrial complex for our community. Our work against the disparities in Washington State Housing Finance Corporation and others was to create true equity and participation. One clear example of how we changed participation was through our award of 30% of Africatown Plaza's project's construction contract to hire African-American contractors. That was really important to us because we feel that if we're able to maintain work for people in our community to build our buildings, then that's really important for us. And so I'd like to invite King, our CEO, up here with me as well. So that is really important for us to be able to provide those opportunities for people of color, so that if we're building the buildings that we're trying to have that we can live in, that's really important for us, for our community, and to maintain those same legacies that I spoke about before. So this is King Garrett, and he is our CEO. And let me just say this. I'm usually the one in the background. I'm the one who keeps the organization running. He's the one who's on the ground running the organization. So it's important for him to be here as well, to speak with you. But for me as the board chair, just to give my point of view of what I see at the work that they're doing on the ground. We have a phenomenal team of people that make our organization what it is. We keep fighting. We are doing a lot of great work in the community. And I just want to thank King and everyone in our organization for all that they're doing. So let's give it up for him. And so the words of more of the work that we're doing will be better coming from him because he's on the ground. So I'm going to give that over to him right now, but I thank you for your time. And we really appreciate the opportunity for the award.
Good evening, and thank you. And I have to say that, Margot really does represent the, the moral compass in the heart of our organization. So, her words are very important as they come directly from community and on behalf of community. We have some other board members here. I see Miss Jacqueline, belovedly Auntie Jacqueline to our organization. I just, to just build on what Margot has shared, and apologies for the time. I came straight from the airport to come, actually rerouted my flight so that I could be here tonight and stand with my organization. But I think it's important, and I do want to give a shout out to the members of the AIA Diversity Roundtable and NOMA Northwest, who have showed up for Africatown many times in, very contentious situations, both to help us fight, but more importantly, to help us imagine and design and to give images and technical language, to community visions, community heart, community soul. And that's very important. That's a very powerful connection when you have the people power and the community power with the technical expertise of planners and designers to be able to help advance a vision, a community-centered vision for futures. And, to the points that Margot were making about, the work and creating the space, we often hear the term equitable development used a lot, in a society, but definitely in Seattle. There's always an equitable development conversation, workshop, or something going on. And, for us, we take a very specific approach to we developed a framework that shapes our work that's around, the root word being equity. Because we say, how equitable is it if we look around and there's no black architectural firms when we're ready to do a project, when there's no black general contractors when we're ready to do a project. And this is 140 years after William Gross established, the Central District. He was a developer in 1882. And so when we look around and we don't see black developers of scale, how equitable are the developments? When we look at our, these various $50 million, $60 million, $100 million projects on behalf of community, and we look into the project budgets and we barely see any black firms benefiting from the economic opportunities that are created by these projects on behalf of community. Yet we see plenty of black faces on the brochures of various organizations, and we see black stories and pain and situations on the stages at annual fundraisers. How equitable is that? And so ACLT's work is not just about our projects, which we are very proud of. It's not just about the Central District of Seattle, which we are very proud of. But it's really about disrupting a status quo that has persisted for many years, that has been facilitated as urban planning and design has been a vessel for maintaining of white supremacy over many generations and black marginalizations. It's about another way forward to create and design a Seattle region that is inclusive of us. It's about making Seattle really a world-class city that is inclusive of the communities of the world that have made the city, and not a one-class city that is exclusive to just a particular demographic. And so, again, as we accept this award in recognition of our collective work, that's the product of many people, we ask you to, really lean in. And we invite you to join us in imagining and designing a future here that includes more of us and excludes less of us. Thank you.
Hi. It's my privilege tonight to be announcing the AIA Seattle Young Architect Award. This award really represents the future of our profession, and if you look at it tonight, it's clear that the future is bright. This award is given to individuals that are licensed fewer than 10 years, who have shown exceptional leadership and made significant contributions to the profession in an early stage of their architectural career. A young architect may be recognized for contributions to design excellence, sustainable design, community engagement, the practice of architecture, technological innovation, or education. This year, our first Young Architect Award is going to Crystal Day, AIA. And it's a privilege to give this award because I got to work with Crystal, too.
Thank you.
Crystal, do you want to say something? You can if you forgot. Good enough. Okay. All right. Well, I can tell you that Crystal has done a lot of really wonderful things. And she is an architect at Miller Hull Partnership and has been a longtime champion for promoting diversity within the profession. As an architect, she carefully considers the needs of the user she designs for, infusing each project with an enhanced sense of humanity and compassion. While serving as a co-chair of AIA Seattle's Diversity Roundtable, she championed the Diversity by Design exhibit, a showcase for underrepresented architects, which highlights the experience and impact community involvement has on the architect of color, the design of the building, and the community in which the building resides. Crystal pairs her AIA involvement with her community engagement as a vocal advocate for meaningful change. She serves on the board of Sawhorse Revolution, a Seattle nonprofit whose mission is to foster confident, community-oriented youth through the power of carpentry and craft. She was able to forge a connection with Sawhorse Revolution and AIA's Diversity Roundtable, pairing youth with mentors for 3 design build programs in underserved communities, including Africatown Center's Garden Shed and Denny Wu Community Garden Shed. Crystal has also been involved with NOMA since she was a college student and served on NOMA Northwest Board, helping to create and promote the Call to Action Pledge and volunteering every year in NOMA's Project Pipeline Summer Camp. So, congratulations, Crystal. And that was my error in being a little too excited about getting Crystal up here on the stage, because I should have read all of that as she was coming up. And then she would have had the appropriate lead-in. So anyway, sorry, Crystal. Additionally, we do have another award this year, and we're very excited to offer another Young Architect Award to Mona Zellers, AIA. This time I'll get it right. Mona Johnston Zellers' reputation as a design leader is reflected in her diverse project experience, which fuses art, fabrication, and architecture to explore how the built environment shapes our experience as individuals and communities. Mona has served on the board of AIA Seattle and Design in Public, former namesake of the Seattle Design Festival, and has spoken on numerous panels addressing equity, technology, and the iterative design process. Her past work has earned her numerous AIA Seattle and National Honor Awards, and in 2017, she was recognized with the AIA National Associates Award. As a partner at Johnston Architects, Mona leads the firm's Design Excellence Program, an internal design review process structured to elevate design on projects of every type and scale. Mona leads projects in JA's civic and residential design practices and is a frequent guest critic at the University of Washington College of Built Environments, where she earned her MArch in 2010. Mona, come on up. Congratulations.
Okay. I did write a couple things. Thank you to AIA Seattle and to the Fellows and Honors Committee for the award. And I'm also honored and delighted not only to receive the award, but also to still be considered young. I also really need to thank my parents. specifically Mary Johnston, who is not here, but she's in Hawaii, and she sent me this lei to wear. She had the audacity to be a mother and really a primary caretaker and an architect at the same time, which without that example, I don't think I ever would have thought that was a good idea. There are some days where I still don't actually think it's a good idea. But I really have to thank her, because she, without her example, I wouldn't have seen that it could really even be possible. As architects, it often feels like we suffer more setbacks than advances, that we're constantly competing for work with our closest friends and our colleagues and the people that we admire. And statistically speaking, we actually lose more than we win. In that kind of challenging context, it's really vital to have organizations like the AIA supporting us and giving us opportunities to connect. But it's also important for us to support each other directly. In the past, our profession hasn't been very good at knowledge sharing and mentorship. And I'd like to make a plug here for cross-firm support, in particular because we're a small community and we can learn from each other. We can partner with each other more. Small firms can partner with large firms. We can invite each other over for design reviews or happy hours, and we can teach each other the business management tricks that none of us learned in school. I think if we can commit to that kind of really open and sincere and dedicated support and mentorship of each other, we can become a more inclusive and really a more humane profession. Thank you.
Really, really heartfelt words that are very important. Thank you, Mona. Now we're going to talk about the Honorary Award. And the Honorary Award is for individuals who are not otherwise eligible for AIA membership, but have contributed in some way to the profession. We have 4 awardees this year. And the first one is Allison Mills, Honorary AIA. Yes. Allison is Victoria, BC native. She arrived into Seattle in 2000 to manage and operate the newly opened Inform Interiors. In 2005, she became the sole owner of the Seattle location and has successfully grown the business into 12,000 square feet showroom that you know today. Allison acts as both chief curator and special projects lead. Her wealth of knowledge of design, art, and manufacturing elevates all of her projects. Because of Allison's keen eye, the mix of vendors and pieces on Inform's floor are unique and really a treat for all who visit the showroom. Allison has a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Art History from University of Victoria, UVic, and studied art history in the master's program at Carleton University. So please welcome Allison to the stage.
This is the thing I do absolutely the worst. It's totally unexpected, and I'm usually better at making space for other people, but Seattle's been, it's been kind of a weird and odd place for me, but it's become my second home. When I first moved here, we had a kind of a weird showroom and some weird business partners, but we sort of cleared that out, and I took it over in 2005, just after I hired my present friend and co-owner of Inform, Hillary Riley, and it's been a long, hard ride, and every day is a new challenge, and we just try to make Inform as much of a cheerleader for all the great projects in Seattle. One of my first experiences with an architect here was I was in the shop early. We had a finished design chair, very not very well known, and this professorial gentleman came by the window. It was 8:30 in the morning, looking in at this chair, so I opened the door up and let him in, and it was Peter Bolin, and he was so kind and generous and enthusiastic and adamant about having design through his entire project and not just sort of stop it at the end of his budget. He would make sure there was budget for good, well-made, heirloom-style furniture that reflected his design all the way through the project. And so many people in the city are like that. So we've got, colleagues, clients, and friends, a ton of overlap in all of those things. And they all give us the opportunity to help bring in things that the city doesn't always support, but the architects and designers in the city try to support, and we try to support them as much as we can. So we've done things where, just do cost plus just to get it into the project, or the project was great, but then the clients didn't want to pay for decent furniture, so we lend furniture for the photo shoots. But in the end, the city it's a scrappy, gritty city, and kudos to all of you out there who just keep pushing it forward and not letting status quo just bring it all down. But everybody in this organization is great. Thank you.
So the second honorary AIA recipient is Amarpreet Sethi. Amarpreet is an independent consultant and founder and owner of EnviroPassive. Amarpreet is a trained architect and energy and building performance specialist grounded in an engineering design discipline. Amarpreet is published author and frequent speaker and currently sits on the AIA Board of Directors. Her career has taken her from sustainable design and energy management into energy and sustainable technical leadership as really change agency through education and deployment. Over the last 18 years, Amarpreet has worked with architects and engineers and owners to deliver energy-efficient technical solutions to meet and future-proof for net zero carbon goals. With her diverse multidisciplinary background, Amarpreet's goals include providing a holistic view of the net carbon net zero to have a positive impact on climate and human health through building simulation. Amarpreet's skill set lies in decarbonization, net zero design solutions, climate responsive design, indoor environmental quality, high efficiency HVAC solutions, renewables, and storage. This breadth of expertise, so incredibly important, allows Amarpreet to give clients a clear understanding of the impact of design solutions on energy performance and human health. So Amarpreet, please come to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm really excited to be here. I'm usually hiding behind a screen nowadays on Zoom. I'm a newly turned introvert after COVID, like some of you. I want to start by thanking all the firms that I've had a chance to work with, because that's really how I've grown and learned. I'm starting with Keen Engineering, Stantec, DLR Group, TK1SC. And most recently, actually, just a few weeks ago, I decided to join Ubiquitous Energy due to some shared passion. I want to start by acknowledging the fact that I am an immigrant, and I want to extend a huge thank you to Tom Marseille and Dan Munn, who stood behind me, and without their support in making sure I got my green card and their push, I wouldn't have the passion and the energy to do my work, and I'd be busy worrying about some other things. That's a huge, big deal for somebody like myself, because when you're from India, it's kind of like a ticket counter. You get a ticket, and then you get your green card 10 years later when you're so used to and you have found your family in a place. So that's a big deal, and a huge thank you to them. Secondly, I want to thank all of the designers. I'm going to name some names because without them, the work that I do is a lot of analysis, but actually making it part of the design ends up being a role that the designers play, both on the architecture side and the mechanical side. So a huge thank you to Todd Furking, Jeremy Reading, Dan Lucius, Jordan Lee at DLR Group, who always were, listening to me, willing to change, willing to do things a little differently, even though that took a lot of energy and more time and more budgets and whatnot from our end. Thank you to Lisa Johnson, who also did the same and allowed me to push her clients. That's a big deal when you're in a room and the clients may not like what they're being pushed to do. A huge thank you to all of my teams in all of these firms. Again, I want to name some names. Alex Grambling, my first hire in my team, inspiring me every day. Sam Margolis, Claire McConnell, Tanvi Dhar, Sandeep, and Atike Wanasi, Justine, and Madhura. To be honest, without them, we wouldn't have the data, we wouldn't have the studies that we did to make all of those informed decisions that helped us then present and share that as solutions that other people perhaps should also adopt and be part of that change in our community. That research and analysis that happens is always in the background. What gets shared outside, even with the designers and architects, is often just barely 20% of the work that has been done in the background. So it's a huge thank you to them. Of course, again, thank you to AIA, and a huge thank you to the AIA staff. They inspire me every day. So gracious and so hardworking. Thank you for such an amazing event and for always pushing us to do the work that we just love to do every day. Thank you so much again. Thank you so much.
All right. So our third honorary AIA recipient is a huge supporter of the architectural community in Seattle in so many ways, not just on projects, but in what the community is trying to do every day. It's Corey Heitzman. Corey Heitzman from Seattle. And Corey has been a proud member of the Seattle building design community for over 25 years. He has actively participated in AIA events and committees for many years as an allied partner and is now a member of the AIA Seattle Board of Directors. He uses the opportunity to give back and help AIA Seattle to continue to thrive and play an active role in the region. In addition to providing continued leadership and education in the design field, Corey believes engaging younger members and the community at large are things AIA Seattle should continue to focus on as the region continues to grow and evolve. Corey has spent his entire career at Colgan Porter Lundeen, designing structures throughout the Puget Sound. He has extensive experience with education, office, residential, and civic facilities, with particular expertise with steel and mass timber. As a long supporter of the sustainable design movement, he also enjoys existing building renovations where a structure's valuable embodied carbon can be preserved for decades to come. Corey, congratulations.
Thanks a lot. Thanks very much. It's definitely an honor to have AIA recognize me this way. I mean, it's funny. I mean, I came out of school 25 years ago, and I had an engineering degree and wanted to design buildings. Thought that'd be kind of cool, but I didn't know anything about the design community itself and how important it was and how much of a vital part of the community it was and how much of an impact we could have. And it was really through the mentorship and partnerships of folks in this room and that really helped open my eyes into how it's not just, we're not just designing the building, but it's this is a part of the community and it really needs to be thought out and we can have a really long lasting impact. So just really appreciated all the partnerships over the years, made a lot of good friendships. Now, even things, Chell talking about, pushing the limits on lower carbon buildings. I mean, that's all stuff that's really a passion of mine as well, and we need to keep pushing and then keep teaching the folks that are coming up below us to do the same, because we need to keep on going. But thanks.
So the fourth honorary AIA membership recipient is Stacy Smedley. Stacy has over 18 years in the architecture and construction professions. Her resume includes the first LEED for Homes Platinum certified project in Washington State, and the first project in the world to be certified under Living Building version 2.0 standards. Before her current role as Executive Director of Building Transparency, Stacy served as Sustainability Director at Skanska, where she led sustainable initiatives and was a subject matter expert in carbon emissions associated with buildings and construction. Today, Stacy leads efforts to provide open access data and tools, so important, to address embodied carbon's role in climate change. Stacy, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm going to try to be short. I didn't bring anything up, but I'm just going to kind of ad-lib it. But this award is actually really important to me. I decided I wanted to be an architect when I was 8. And I did a report on Julia Morgan. She was the first female architect to be licensed in California, the first female to go to L'École des Beaux-Arts. And there was pictures of her wearing these hard hats and these muddy boots on job sites. And I just became inspired by her. And at exactly the same time, my grandpa had decided to sell the land that my mom and I and my grandparents lived on that was very forested, and I watched as that entire acreage of land was clear-cut and turned into suburban housing development. So I decided when I was 8 I was going to grow up and be an architect like Julia Morgan and try to design buildings that didn't destroy nature. So I grew up, my path is very circuitous. If you told 8-year-old Stacy that I would be the executive director of a nonprofit environmental tech startup, I don't think that's really what she expected. So I want to take a couple minutes just to thank a few of the folks that helped me take the right forks in the road to get me to where I am. First is Brian Runberg, actually, of Runberg Architecture Group. He was my first job right out of school. I was a young intern architect who told him very passionately 20 years ago, and it wasn't, like Chell said, something that was common, that I wanted to only work on green buildings. And so when the Ashworth Cottages project came through the door, and we had a client that wanted to lead for Homes Platinum pilot project, he said, Stacy, here you go. We're gonna let you run with this one. And I got to actually design and see that project through construction. So he helped me kind of see the benefits of designing that way and being a part of those types of projects. Next, KMD Architects, where I worked with Chris Griffiths, who was leading the office here in Seattle. When Chris Helsterd and I are associate intern architects, I have to be careful because I'm not licensed, which is why this is so exciting. When we were associates at KMD, we came up with the idea that we wanted to design a living building for free for a client, and we were able to do that for the Birchie School thanks to KMD's support and us, again, being first at something. There's a theme here. And then I want to thank Skanska. They were the the general contractor on that project. When I went and asked them for a job, because I saw an opportunity to make a bigger impact on a lot of projects at the same time working for Skanska, and actually creating a sustainability director job for me there. And then when I had this crazy idea to create a free open access tool called EC3, they supported that and then supported me as the executive director for 2 years before I could now do that full time. So again, I think forks in the road. I've learned, if I was telling 8-year-old Stacy anything, it's that you did follow Julia Morgan's path. You like to be first at things, and you like to be fearless. And I think I'd also tell her that you are building buildings that don't destroy nature. And for my mom, who's my date tonight, I want to thank her last for 2 things. From the time I could talk, whenever I said I can't, she would tell me, and this is an important quote that you have to listen to carefully, "Can't is a coward that never tried." So just take that with you if you're going to take anything with you. And she also told me when I told her I wanted to grow up and do what I'm doing now, build buildings that were going to help the environment, she told me, of course you are. So thanks, Mom.
Hi, everyone. I want to just pause for a moment just to thank my colleagues on the Fellows and Honors Committee. This is a really exciting part of being a member of AIA to participate on this committee. It gives us a unique vantage point to see all the good that's out there in our design community and in our community at large. And you can see from the role models that you've seen tonight what exceptional people we have in our midst. I'm up here to award the Community Service Award. AIA Seattle annually recognizes an individual or group for achievement of significant community service and for exemplifying the application of architectural skills, values, and dedication to the advancement of community goals. This year, it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Riske, AIA, the recipient of the Community Service Award. Come on up here. Casey spends most of his time helping people, and he loves it. He thinks of himself as an educator and a mentor, always striving to give other people the chance to succeed. Through the ACE Architecture, Construction, Engineering Mentor Program for the past 16 years, he has served on the advisory boards and participated in the ACE, Seattle ACE chapter. He also sits on the professional advisory group for the North Dakota State University Architecture Department, and he teaches BIM classes at the University of Washington. He told me a little story about one of his best moments when his colleague at Miller Hall was reviewing a resume for a new hire and asked him if he knew the candidate. Yes, he said. She was one of my favorite and my best ACE students. Now, she has been at Miller Hall for 5 years and is working in diverse project roles, including construction, administration, and specification. Seeing it come full circle and be part of the Miller Hall team and continue to grow is so very rewarding to Casey. In addition to his work with emerging architects, Casey is always seeking opportunities outside of work to make a difference in people's lives. Casey's interest in affordable housing and equity has propelled him to swing hammers at Habitat for Humanity and Rebuilding Together. He additionally volunteers at Facing Homelessness, the Block Project, and Seattle Architects Without Borders, and serves as a co-house captain for the Miller Hall fundraising team. Please join me in congratulating Casey.
Well, thank you, AIA Seattle. I'm very truly honored for this award. Raised on a farm in the Midwest, everything was hands-on. You learn by some things by yourself, but most of the time somebody was helping you. Somebody was showing you the ropes. When tackling the chores, you didn't really think of it as learning or being taught or being mentored, but it was. We often developed creative solutions because we didn't have the budget or the means to buy new parts or equipment or hire somebody to come in and fix it for you. This experience really helped me find my way to calling of architecture. After starting college in pre-med, as a student, undiagnosed with learning disabilities, challenge was very difficult for me. College was very difficult for me. By discovering the hands-on practice of architecture, it gained me a confidence to manage the challenges of reading and words. As a visual learner, I found the success of architecture by designing and building in 3D, thus becoming a master virtual builder. Growing up, when a neighbor needed a hand, you were always there. My parents and grandparents instilled that in me. Thank you, Mom, for being the best role model, always helping those in need and making a community better. Early in my career at the Boeing Company, I joined volunteer teams that sponsored Habitat for Humanity and Rebuilding Together. This was a great opportunity for me to be back swinging the hammer, doing that hands-on work, building housing for Habitat, making senior homes safer and more accessible with Rebuilding Together. This intense volunteering assignments were extremely rewarding, and they created some lifetime friendships. Thank you, John Magnuson, for bringing ACE to Washington. ACE is a national architecture, construction, and engineering mentoring organization. ACE connects design construction professionals to high school students in an after-school design mentoring program. I've been an ACE team leader for 16 years and have been honored at the 2018 as one of the 5 national ENR Mentors of the Year. Working with students as they learn about our professions and watching them launch their education and careers has been amazing. Over the past 20-plus years, ACE of Washington has donated over $1.1 million in scholarships to 222 rising professionals. A special thanks to Angela Gutta and the entire ACE board, all 1,500-plus mentors, some of which are your firms, for running a well-organized machine, helping over 4,000 students since 2001. As a proud graduate of North Dakota State University, go Bison, I experienced the hands-on learning. Sometimes it showed, sometimes in a snowed-in Quonset hut, repurposed as our studio. NDSU melds the Midwest can-do approach with a robust ag tech science roots for thorough architecture education. This is why I've worked with the NDSU staff and students for the last 7 years as an architectural advisory board. I'm honored to be working at Miller Hall for the last 12 years. Miller Hall's charter is do good, be bold, go deep. Miller Hall's do good roots began with Bob Hall and Dave Miller working in the Peace Corps. I'd like to thank Dave Miller for the opportunity to share my BIM skills with the university students for the past 11 years. Miller Hall's do-good attitude continues today by targeting 1% of our services to the pro bono work of nonprofit organizations, by leading design projects and support groups like the Block Project, Roots, Neighborhood House, Sandpoint Sailing Club, name a few of the latest. Miller Hall sets an example for community engagement. Thank you, Ruth, Scott, and all the partners for enthusiastically fostering the staff engagement as volunteers, educators in programs like ACE, Open Studio, and teaching at the University of Washington classes. This is a company of culture that empowers individuals to do good activities. I'm very grateful for those who have shared extra time for me to explain and demonstrate the concepts and methods. I believe that I mentor they will pay it forward. Finally, I'd like to thank my wife, Cecilia, for loving support and patience, and thank you. Go out there, do good.
Some really heartfelt thank yous in the room tonight, and I know it's only just a fraction of the people who contributed to all of our recipients this evening, but I know I'm touched now by some of the glimpses into people that I've heard this evening, so thank you for all of your recognition. This is a big one. The AIA Seattle Gold Medal is the highest award that AIA Seattle can bestow on one of its own members. It recognizes distinguished lifetime achievement in architecture, including design and professional practice and service to the profession, the community, the education, the arts. This year, the chapter is privileged to bestow this honor on Rick Mohler. As an associate professor of architecture at the University of Washington, Rick Mohler promotes just, policy-driven cities shaped by principled design, addressing all scales of urban experience through teaching, action research, professional practice, and community-engaged scholarship and service. In doing so, he strengthens connections between the academy, the profession, our government, and our community. Through his own practice, work with other firms, and independent collaborations, Rick has been recognized 37 times in local, regional, national, and international design award programs and competitions. Over the past few years, he has received a 2019 R&D Award from Architect Magazine, a 2021 ACSA AIA Housing Design Education Award, a 2022 Place Design Award from the Environmental Design Research Association, a 2022 AIA Small Projects Award, and in 2021, he was elevated to Fellow of the American Institute of Architects for achievement in education and practice. Rick is a former member of the AIA Seattle Board of Directors, former co-chair of AIA Seattle Public Policy Board, and is currently co-chair of the Seattle Planning Commission. Let's all congratulate Rick for his achievement.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll put this down. Covering my notes. You know, 20 years ago, I would have memorized everything I was going to say, but I don't do that anymore. So thank you to the Fellows and Honors Committee for this unexpected recognition. And I'm humbled to be included among my mentors and heroes who have received it before me. So at the risk of sounding unappreciative, and I trust it will be clear how much I appreciate this award in a few minutes, I must say that there is something sobering about the term lifetime achievement. And I can't help, as I pondered this, of being reminded just a little bit of the Monty Python skit, you know, I'm not dead yet. So I hope you'll indulge me for a few minutes in a walk down memory lane. For those who've been around a while, this will be boring, I'm sorry, but for the younger folks in the office, maybe not. So in 1985, my former teacher, employer, and mentor, Doug Kelbaugh, who had just been named the new chair of the UW Department of Architecture, invited me to move to Seattle to practice architecture and teach part-time. When I visited the city in 1986 to consider his offer, I had an intuition that unlike my native Philadelphia, where I was then living and working, Seattle was not yet the city it would become. Little did I know just how accurate that intuition was, nor how fortuitous was the timing of my arrival. I was unaware that after 2 decades of population decline following the Boeing bust, Seattle was growing again. That a little-known software startup called Microsoft had just launched an operating system called Windows, that a coffee roaster named Starbucks was about to reinvent the US version of coffee culture, or that a musical genre, grunge, was about to take the country by storm. So those in the audience who are too young to know what grunge is are probably on their phones Googling it right now. So while Seattle had a solid architectural community in 1986, it bore no resemblance to the community we know today. My first job here was with Olson Sundberg, now Olson Kundig, which at the time was a firm of 12 people. Say no more. Miller Hull was just picking up steam and starting to garner commissions larger than vacation houses. Many of the medium and larger sized firms of today were here, but they were little known outside the confines of our city and region. Well, As of last week's announcement, Seattle, the 18th largest city in the country, is home to more winners of the National AIA Firm Award over the past 20 years than any other city in the U.S. Not New York, not LA, not Chicago, but Seattle, where we toil away in our little corner of the world. So congratulations to Mithun, and as we know, and others will soon learn, we have other future firm award winners in our hip pocket. So one can add to that the array of firms launched here over the past 25 years that are garnering national and international recognition as well. And as an educator, I'm honored that the leaders and founders of many of these firms are former students, and yes, I take full credit for their success. In 1986, AIA Seattle was a locally respected chapter housed in a modest storefront office on First Avenue by the market. Today, it occupies a space probably 5 times the size of the previous office, and AIA Seattle is a national leader in advocating for social equity, zero-carbon buildings, climate justice, and the provision of programming to support these issues, and many contributors to this effort are here in this room and being honored tonight. So, you are probably asking, Professor, what's the point of my little history lesson? Well, after dividing my time equally between practice and teaching for almost 30 years, I adjusted my career trajectory to be more focused on leveraging my teaching, research, and experience in practice to address the pressing social and environmental challenges that have resulted partly from Seattle's phenomenal success, while at the same time building bridges between the academy, profession, government, and broader community. This simply would not have been possible without the support of this extraordinarily creative, collaborative, collegial, and most importantly, generous community. This includes the valued mentors, colleagues, and co-conspirators in this room and citywide who not only support me and one another, but make an extraordinary contribution to the architectural education at the University of Washington. It's really, really phenomenal. It includes my UW colleagues with a special shout out to Professor Emerita Dr. Sharon Sutton, winner of this year's AIA ACSA Topaz Medallion, who, despite now being in New York, will always be one of our own. And to my current and former students, now numbering over 1,000, who inspire me with their energy, curiosity, creativity, and commitment to building a better world, while allowing me to delude myself into believing that I am younger than I actually am. It includes my former partners in practice, Rick Adams and Rick Galino, yes, 3 Ricks. My wife, Jill, who's here tonight for putting up with me. It's not easy to be married to an architect, especially when you're not one, and supporting me on this journey. And my father, my role model, who is bravely moving forward with the next step of his life after the loss of my mother about a month ago, and is likely listening to this on stream from the East Coast. So it has been my privilege to play a small part in the remarkable evolution of this community over the past 36 years, and to be honored by it in this way is both moving and deeply humbling. Thank you so very much.
So So at AIA Seattle, we have 3 strategic imperatives that we work towards, and those are climate, housing, and justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And y'all are making it so easy for us because each of you who have come and walked across the stage tonight are reminding me why, whether it's dismantling the systemic racism of redlining that, you know, we see in our community and the impacts of that links to our JEDI imperative, whether it's talking about eliminating carbon from buildings and using mass timber as a structure, or whether it's, you know, Casey, volunteering your time with the Block Project. I mean, you are all solving those 3 problems in ways that give me confidence that we're really creating a net that we can work together and move towards those things. And they're not just platitudes that are sitting on our website. They're problem solving in action. So thank you. And another note, I have 3 sons, and I am so excited to go to an awards ceremony and be called out by one of them at some point. So for everyone who called out their mom, just thank you for that. I'm feeling like I'm going to go have a conversation with 3 young men tomorrow at breakfast about what to do in these situations, because y'all nailed it. So thank you. And just, yes. A lot of inspiration in this room. And before we're going to do a couple last celebrations, but I'd like to call Miss Mona and Miss Jacqueline up to the stage. I think. Is that right? Is that right? Margot. Oh,
no worries,
so
it's fine.
She looked at me like, what?
That's a surprise. Thank you. Thank you so much, all of you. It's been a great evening. And so I thank you just for a brief moment. You had heard earlier from Africatown Community Land Trust, our board, our president, K.Y. King Garrett, and of course, Margot Jones. And I must say that as a lifelong resident of the Central District, they have made great strides in the Central District, and I am so super proud to be vice chair of this organization on the board. And oftentimes the work is so busy that we get immersed in just doing the work, and we don't have time to stop, pause, and just say thank you for all that you've done. So again, I'd like to say that Margot Jones and Y. King have been the inception. Yes. The inception of Africatown was 2016, and both K.Y. King Garrett and Margot have been there from the very beginning. It's important to say thank you. And so on behalf of the entire board, of course, our president, the entire team, but most of all, Margot, our community, our beloved Central District, how much we love you and appreciate you. You have stood 10 toes down, girl, in this work. You have been steadfast, standing in the gap, guiding the board, and we just want you to know that we love you. Please stand on your feet and join me. Thank you so much.
That's so sweet.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Margot. Thanks, Miss Jacqueline. Thank you for including us in your gratitude. Okay, so next generation, you have some pretty big shoes to fill. This event is also celebrating not only what we have achieved, but it's the direction of where we're going. So whether you were newly licensed in the before times, back in 2019, which was 1 million years ago, or whether it was just a few months ago, if you have been newly licensed since 2019, just raise your hand so that we can give you a celebration. We can't wait to see you up on this stage, and thank you. You're the future of all our bigger aspirations for the profession, and you bring the energy into our community that moves us forward and keeps us going, so thank you. Thank you again to all of our corporate allied partners. Our corporate allied partners give us the ability to produce programming and have that portfolio that is not just based on net income, that can be based on where we want to put our energy for our imperatives. And I just really appreciate all of our past and current board members, and our former executive director, Lisa Richmond, is here, who's been a big part of all of this work. The Fellows and Honors Committee, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been on the AIA website to see what all of the possible honors are, but it is like a menu from, I'm from upstate New York, it's like a menu at a family-style Italian restaurant. It just keeps going and going and going, like that's an unlimited menu. So thanks for all that you do. And to our awesome staff, our energized, mighty, capable team, thank you for putting your time and energy into this. It's been great. Special thanks to Annalie for picking up this program and moving it forward. It's been really, really wonderful to see. So thank you all for joining. We do have a final call at the bar. So go ahead, stick around, celebrate yourselves, have a drink, and relax. And I know that this is the best place to be on Monday night, and I appreciate you all for coming, so thank you.